Hello, patrons, and welcome to episode 12 of Minis and Movies. I am your host, John Spencer. I want to thank you guys for tuning in again. You guys are really helpful, keeping the lights on, keeping us, helping defray costs like Gonzo and Kathy going to Adepticon. Maybe next year I'll be able to take advantage of that. Not this year, though, but stuff like that, getting extra cameras and all so we can keep the main podcast very good. So this is sort of a reward for you guys. Hopefully you guys enjoy it, because I do enjoy making these and want to continue making them for you guys. So, as I said, I'm your host, John Spencer. If you want to get in contact with me with ideas for a podcast or questions or comments on anything I've said on one of these, hit me up on Twitter at John O. Spencer, or find me on Facebook, John Oakland Spencer, or you can just email me, johnoaklandspencer at yahoo.com. So today we are going to talk about conversions and sort of just doing it. And then in the movie section, we're going to talk about XXX State of the Union. Let's get started. We're on. As it's sort of early afternoon or late afternoon, I am not drinking as of yet. I am just having some water. All right, so conversions. So conversions are a weird thing, as this all started sort of War Machine centric podcast and all, and it's sort of grown to cover more than all the regular game, more than just War Machine, all the sorts of games. And I've been playing a bunch of games, Malifaux and 40K and Infinity, and basically a lot of not War Machine and Hordes. So War Machine and Hordes, with its very tight focus on what you see is what you get, and you need to not have confusion because of the potential gotcha elements of the game that are maybe not more pronounced in other games, but they seem more devastating than other games when you screw something up. There's sort of been a move away from conversions. There are some great War Machine and Hordes conversions that are just, the same parts put in different ways, or people who just don't play in tournaments making great conversions, and hats off to you guys, keep it up. But as tournament seems to be the main focus of play for War Machine and Hordes, the overall conversions have gone sort of downhill, but less frequent than a game for my roots like 40K or Fantasy. So now 40K has always lent itself to conversions, giving you lots of parts in there, and people have always taken parts together and cast up parts, and Forge World's been all over extra bits and all, and there's a lot of cool stuff you can do there. Infinity doesn't have all its profiles and won't probably ever have all its profiles. It's still catching up from books ago, but they're trying, and so conversions are a big part there. People will take stuff and pull arms off, put new arms on, cut guys up, and I think at some point when I was converting one of my Infinity models, with one of the recent changes, one of the types of guys, the Druze, who are sort of mercenary soldiers, medium infantry guys, lost one of their weapons, so they can't take it anymore. And that was a Spitfire, which is sort of like a medium range machine gun, like a squad assault weapon. And so they lost that profile and gained a heavy machine gun. So of course you're like, well, John, just use the miniature as a heavy machine gun. Problem is, the new Druze box, which of course I got, has a heavy machine gun. So now I'm left with a model, no real use for it. It can just count as whatever, but sometimes you just do it. Just get in there and do it. So I was moving stuff out of the way on my hobby table, and came across an extra sniper rifle from one of the other packs, probably one of the Spec Ops packs. The Infinity Spec Ops packs are good for having extra weapons and such in there, so you can potentially convert stuff up. It's not easy because it's not like the guns are separate on the model itself, so you have to cut the gun out of his hand and stuff. And as they have a lot of, rather than cradle arms like GW, they have a lot of hands attached to the weapon that attach to the arms. So that makes it more difficult. I kind of wish they would go to cradle arms, but I'm not casting them. I'm sure they cause a whole host of problems. But anyways, so I saw that sniper rifle, and I realized there is a Druze profile with a sniper rifle. I believe it's a multi-sniper rifle, if you're keeping track of specifics. And I figured it would be kind of cool to convert one up. So I grabbed that sniper rifle and grabbed my Spitfire guy out of the box, and I'm all worried. I'm like, oh, trying to make it perfect. And I realized, I need to stop wasting time and just do it. So I just started cutting up and going, pinned an arm, got pinned the weapon so it can go in there. Then when I got that dried and ready to go, took a look. I'm like, it's not perfect, but, I'm going to do a little putty work on it, and that's another thing. So First one I'm gonna get to, just to try and keep on topic, is to just do it. Sometimes the hesitation is, oh, I'm not gonna do it, might not do it perfectly. I gotta plan, and that's great if you're doing a contest or any sort of army that you're like, this has got to look absolutely perfect. This is likely to be a model that I'm just going to use until a real model comes out for it. When a model comes out, it'll probably be better, and I'll probably just swap it out. Or if this one works well enough and I've got him painted by then, I might just keep him. Who knows? But sometimes it's not worth it to just wait. You're not going to get anywhere by waiting. Sometimes you just do it. Insert the meme of Shia LaBeouf, just do it! Just do it. So I did. I just grabbed him and started cutting and pinning, and I've got him in a usable fashion. If you follow my hobby streak, you'll see that on Facebook or Twitter. And he's fine. He's tabletop. He needs some putty work on the arm and all, and putty work on the gun. But a little bit of putty work go a long way, making it look okay. But that sort of thing, we agonize over the little bits of it. Oh, should I cut it here? Should I do this? No, just do it. Just go to it, grab the model, start cutting. Same thing with any game. Like, just start grabbing and going. Like, so I've got another one that it's a really, really old model I got off the discount rack for Infinity, and it was missing the arm. It had someone else's arm entirely in it, and I'm like, well, that's crazy talk. That's not going to work. And I don't have any extra arms because Infinity is not necessarily big on extra arms. But I had two of a female nomad character, because this is also a nomad character, who has a sort of pointing arm that would look good on her, because she's sort of like in this crouched pose, a sniper rifle held sort of off. Pointing is not a bad necessary pose for that, so I'm like, well, I don't like having two of the same basic trooper, so I'll just pull the arm off of her and put another one. And there you go. Like I said, just do it. Sure, I'm net even as far as models I can use, but that's not a big deal. I will, it'll work, and I will just keep the old model and throw it in my Infinity Bits box and keep it for when maybe I find an arm or something. Maybe you buy bits or something. Maybe you end up getting some stuff from a friend. He's got like, oh, I've got part of this model. It just broke in transit, never found it again. Maybe you find an old model from another game that can work it in there. So you got to keep that stuff, and you got to just start converting stuff, just doing it, The same way when I was, this is a little less conversion, but similar, when I was looking at magnetizing my weapons for my Oranger Doom Crawlers for Adeptus Mechanicus in 40k. I'm like, I'm like, oh, I got to get it just right. I'm like, no, just go. Worst case, you get up. As long as you leave it in a way that you can glue it together, it doesn't matter then. Like, oh, I'll glue it. It can't magnetize them, but I've lost nothing because a couple magnets, no big deal. You just got to keep doing it. You can't hem and haw over it. You can put off stuff for forever, but sometimes just go. Same when I was inspired. Again, not really conversion, but I think sometimes painting is the same way. Sometimes just roll into it. Just do it. Just start putting paint on a model, unless it's a handful of models you cannot ever get again, i.e. mini crates, since I'm sort of staring at them over on my hobby table and just had to renew the subscription for that. Those are the only models you ever want to throttle back and plan. But don't spend too long planning, because the longer you spend planning, this time you could be painting, hobbying, out doing something else. So yeah, that's the first part. Second part is, if you're going to start converting, there are some tools you got to have. I like having a couple good sets of clippers. If you got some really good flush clippers, those are awesome. You need lots of different blades for your hobby knife, but like one good pack of X-Acto blades, all you'll need. It's got different shapes and cuts, so you can do a lot of weird cuts. You need a cutting mat. You need all sorts of files. You're going to need pin vise and some brass rod or paper clips to pin. I really like the P3 brass rod because it comes with the right drill bits. They're not the best drill bits, but they work. And they tell you what size they are, so you can just go and find other ones if you need it of that size. Online, go to a hardware store, just start asking questions. I mean, hobby shop's not the only place you can get these. You can go anywhere and get these and just start asking and looking. Those are really important. And putty and a sculpting tool, even if it's just the basic sculpting tool and putty, is necessary. Because little green stuff will fill some gaps and take a model from looking, man, that's decent, to looking, that looks good, Because right now my guy will be okay. He's got a sort of gap in his arm. I could fill it with anything, but a little green stuff in there. I can maybe even mimic part of the armor around it. And then the gun is sort of not flush because the Spitfire was wider than the sniper rifle, but a little putty, bring it down at an angle and all. Maybe I might cover up some of the detail that's there already, but aside from the magazine, that's no big deal. Just go for it. Just cover it up. Maybe sculpt some of the lines from the front, from the back of it onto the front. But just angle it down so that it ends up looking fine. I mean, little stuff like that. Once it's painted, you'll never know. And like I said, you just got to do it. Just start going. You never know where you end up. Some of the best conversions end up that way. I have an old one of I was doing something chaosy way back in the day for fantasy, and I'd ended up with an aerial that had been mispacked at the store I was managing. The guy gave back to me. I gave him off the shelf. GW just sent a whole other box at that point because as a retailer, I told him I'd replace with a box. They just sent another box and just said, just do whatever you want with the bits. So I had an aerial with no wings. So I'm like, well, I got this Demon Prince, with extra parts and stuff. I'll take the wings from that. So I took the wings from that. I actually cut horns off of his head and glued and puttied those onto her head instead of her little deedly bobs because she was fairy, and pinned those in. Then just did it. And I'm like, I got this big hole in her back where the wings would go, but they're supposed to be hair. So I'm like, just put green stuff in there and just trace the lines from the top and met up with the bottom, and suddenly it looks fine. Years later, I still haven't painted it. She's been primed for probably a good 15 years, but maybe eventually. But it's little stuff like that. Just doing it, just jumping in, just starting green stuff, just trying stuff. Just like with bases and all. If you're going to try something crazy, just try it. I mean, especially if you haven't glued the model to the base, you can get another base. There are very, very few bases you cannot replace in this thing. I mean, the only one I can think of are some of the odd sizes for Infinity, and 40K might be a little tough, but most of the bases you can get the bases again. The company wants to sell you more stuff, so boom. And check out, I mean, some guys who make cool stuff might be able to make you a base. I mean, if you take, hey, I need an MDF disc, about an inch, maybe a couple millimeters tall, and about the size of a 40K base, and I need it about 70 millimeter diameter. They'll make that for you. It just costs you a little money to get it, but that's no big deal. I mean, it's not going to break the bank or anything. Most of those guys are happy because, here it is. They're doing customer service. That's going to get word of mouth. And on that sort of subject, always, spread that word of mouth if someone does something nice. Like, I posted it when I put the model for my Hawk Islam, what the hell is that thing called? Magariba Guard, the big giant Walker tank thing. Death Ray Designs had actually made a base for that. They contacted him. He made a sculpted base. It looked just like the other ones I use. Perfect. I mean, it wasn't a perfect size, but it looks great on there. You can't even tell that it's not perfect size. It just fits right on there, and he made it custom for me. That was very nice of him. So as a result, I always check them out for stuff. But back to the main topic of conversions and all, just get some models. If you look in two models next to each other, and it looks like they might go together, give it a shot. Unless you absolutely need the models for something else you're doing, it's great. Like, I was putting together a Warp Wolf out of the new starter box for Circle that I hadn't opened since the Mark III release. And I got my Warp Wolf parts out and, swapped the arms out so I have my two Pure Bloods don't look the same. And in doing so, I found, an armor plate from one of the goats that was extra, and I'm like, that's cool. I should put that on a Warp Wolf. So next time I get a Warp Wolf, it's going to look the same. He's going to get that armor plate. I'm going to putty it on. I'm going to maybe putty a thin strip that looks like a strap, so it looks like it's strapped to him, because that's how armor would be on him. And there you go. Little touches like that make a big difference. It's like using the extra bits, but it's using extra bits from someone else. A little harder in War Machine, but as long as you follow their conversion rules, or if you're not playing in a tournament or you're not playing a game where tournaments are a big thing, then it won't be a problem at all. But like I said, if you get if you just get that in your mind, just do it. And one more, if you will, story of conversions that came out very well for me that I want to pass before I get on to the movie topic. Many, many years ago, working at Games Workshop in the back, packing stuff up on a Saturday, a guy had ordered a Chimera and a Predator turret. And, Chimera is a big boxy track thing. The Predator turret goes on a Rhino, which is a smaller tank with different lines to make it more of an assault tank. And I've never been a big fan of the Chimera turret because it's really small. It looks like a Russian BMP, I think. And, it's okay, it's fine. But then I saw those together and my mind got to working. So I went home, I had a Chimera, I had a Predator, Don't judge me. I work for Games Workshop. Had lots of models. I took it and I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. So suddenly that I cut it down, get a way to get a tab to put it in the in the hull of the Chimera, and suddenly I'm like, I'm doing that for all of them. It looked great. It changed the profile of the tank, looked super cool, and little things like that go a long way. Even if it's just a gun swap. Maybe you are making your Cyclone and you don't like the way the miniguns look, or your Stormwall, you don't like the miniguns. Maybe you found miniguns somewhere else that you can get. Just swap them out. Something like that isn't going to make a big difference. If someone calls you on that, then maybe you need to worry about the quality of people you're playing. But again, if you're tournament focused, keep that in mind when you're doing it. But just do it. Keep a lookout for parts. I love to go through hobby shops and other models ranges and look for parts. And go to resin shops that sell resin models and all. See what kind of conversion bits they have. Check them out. Maybe you come with something awesome that can take your army to the next level, visually speaking. Run. All right, after that rambling mess of talking about conversions, let's talk about XXX State of the Union. Now, I'll be fair. I remembered this movie poorly. Didn't really like it by my memory, and but I decided to check it out as it was free on Amazon Prime, and I wanted to watch it again when XXX The Return of Xander Cage had come out, but it wasn't free then, and I wasn't going to pay for a copy. I will start by saying straight up, this is way better than I remember. Way better. It was downright competent, enjoyable movie. There is a couple scenes of CGI that are awkward, to say the least. They're not good, and there's like a drone they use in the beginning that the CGI, just because it's near a person, is really sketchy. And then the scene at the end, because there's part of the ending, there's a chase scene at the end that is absolutely ridiculous. And the CGI on that's a bit sketchy also, but it is what it is. It is definitely a different style of movie. It's less action adventure and more, combat adventure, because you trade out Xander Cage, who's supposed to be, extreme sports guy, for Ice Cube's character, whose name escapes me, Darius Stone, who is much more of a combat guy, ex-Navy SEAL, all that stuff, best of the best with honor, sir. And it becomes a lot more violent, though it still maintains its PG-13 rating easily, with not seeing a lot of blood or anything like that. But it's a violent movie. Samuel L. Jackson's in it and doing well in general. They did bring back the Agent Shavers, who's the dweeb, the nerd, who has a couple good lines. I don't remember that guy's name. Unfortunately, he committed suicide in his past. That's too bad. He was enjoyable in that. And overall, did a decent job with the movie. Scott Speedman from the Vampire and Werewolves movie. God, I don't even remember the name of those things. Underworld movies is in it, and he's okay as another NSA agent or something. I will say that the story is believable for an action movie. The action scenes are all absolutely batshit crazy. Almost all batshit crazy. There's a couple really solid, realistic ones, but there's some that are just absolutely batshit crazy. It is very fun in general, very enjoyable to watch. Willem Dafoe, and I'm not really spoiling much, he's a great villain. I love Willem Dafoe. He rises above the material always. There's a fight between the bad guys Heavy and Darius Stone, where Darius Stone gets his arm stabbed, and he actually fights really realistically afterwards, cradling it and not really using it for much. Except in, like those dire circumstances when you would have the adrenaline to do it. And that was very enjoyable. I like seeing little touches like that. But it is funny also to see how the XXX franchise immediately went from trying to be the new James Bond, making fun of James Bond, to pretty much falling back on James Bond just violent and American. Because it is kind of James Bond just violent and American. Enjoyable action movie. I definitely say give it a watch. I'm going to give it, let's see. It's between 2 and 2.5 shots of Kraken. It has good action, enjoyable action. It's enjoyable in general. Not as over-the-top silly at points as XXX Return of Xander Cage, but also not as enjoyable because it's a little more serious and Ice Cube-y, if you will. Ice Cube being all, grim and serious and all. So, but it's enjoyable. Definitely give it a watch. Hopefully you will enjoy it also. Next time, I think I'm going to review XXX. I think I've done that back in the past when this was Co-Host Corner, but I'm going to do it again because I'm doing the trilogy in reverse order. Might as well finish it out, and I own that on DVD, whether or not it's free, though I think it's free on Amazon Prime also. So in 2 weeks you'll get that, along with another minis topic that I do not know what it will be yet. But you said you guys see that in 2 weeks. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed. And I will catch you guys next time. Ron.